There's a moment in every anxious-avoidant dynamic that no one warns you about. It's not the breakup, not the arguments, not the distance they create. It's the moment you finally stop trying, not with anger or desperate messages, but with a calm, exhausted silence that says, "I'm done carrying this alone." People assume avoidants panic when you chase them. But here's the truth no one tells you. Avoidants panic when you stop. At first, your silence feels like exactly what they always said they needed. Space, freedom, no pressure. They convince themselves this is good. They settle back into their routines, their independence, their emotional bubble. For a while, they actually feel relief. But that relief is the eye of the storm, deceptive, quiet, and temporary. Because when you go silent, you break the pattern their nervous system depends on. And that's when everything inside them slowly begins to crack. Research from the University of Illinois shows that avoidant individuals experience what psychologists call phantom X syndrome, a delayed emotional response. They feel little during conflict, but weeks or even months later, the grief hits them like an emotional earthquake. Their system is designed to shut down in the moment and feel safe enough to feel later. And when later finally arrives, it arrives hard. This isn't a personality flaw. It's a survival mechanism built in childhood, when emotional needs were met with dismissal or neglect, the deceptive calm. In those first days of your silence, the avoidant might actually thrive. They throw themselves into work, hit the gym harder, make plans with friends. They feel a surge of relief. Finally, no one's asking them how they feel. No one's trying to fix things. This is what freedom feels like, they tell themselves. But beneath that surface calm, something else is happening. Your absence creates a void they don't yet recognize. The text that used to come every morning, gone. The voice that used to check in, silent. The person who always reached out first, nowhere to be found. Their nervous system is registering a loss. It doesn't yet have the language to name. This is the illusion of control that avoidants live in. They believe that as long as they're the ones creating distance, they're safe. But your silence flips the script entirely. You're not chasing anymore. You've simply stopped, and that quiet surrender is more terrifying to them than any confrontation ever was. The cracking begins. They start noticing your absence in the smallest, most haunting ways. They check their phone out of habit and find nothing. They see something that reminds them of you, a song, a restaurant you used to talk about, a random inside joke, and the feeling lingers instead of disappearing. They scroll through old messages, trying to figure out when you stopped caring. The silence that once felt peaceful now begins to feel suffocating. At first, they pretend not to care. They might date someone new, post photos looking unbothered, but it's just a mask. Because avoidants aren't heartless. They're profoundly disconnected from their own emotions. And now, without you keeping the connection alive, their internal defenses start to fail. This is when the delayed fear kicks in. The fear they've suppressed since childhood. What if I actually lost someone who cared about me? They try to distract themselves, work more, scroll endlessly, stay busy. But nothing hits the same. For the first time, there's nothing soothing them from the outside. No one is chasing. No one is reassuring. And the avoidant starts feeling the emotional weight of their own actions. Their mind starts working against them. They wonder if you're thinking about them. They check your social media, looking for clues. They replay the last conversation, searching for the moment everything changed. This behavior feels obsessive to them, and they hate themselves for it. Because isn't this exactly what they accuse you of? The haunting. This is where it gets painful. They begin replaying memories, not the arguments or moments they felt overwhelmed, but the warmth, your voice, the way you cared, the softness they didn't know how to receive when it was right in front of them. These memories don't feel comforting now. They feel sharp. Your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. It echoes in every quiet moment, every Friday night, every morning they wake up and realize no one's checking in anymore. They wonder why you stopped caring. They wonder if someone else is giving you the attention they used to take for granted. Fear creeps in, not about you leaving that day, but about realizing they might actually be alone now. The walls they built to protect themselves suddenly feel like a cage. They start remembering things they dismissed at the time. The way you reached for their hand, and they pulled away. The times you said, "I love you," and they couldn't say it back. The conversations where you asked for more presence, more consistency, and they made you feel like you were asking for too much. Now, those requests seem so reasonable, so simple. Why couldn't they just show up? Avoidants build distance because closeness feels dangerous. But your silence forces them to face a truth they've avoided for years. Closeness wasn't a threat. losing it was. They might reach out with vague messages. Hey, you crossed my mind. Or, hope you're doing okay. These aren't casual texts. They're emotional breadcrumbs. They're checking if the door is still open, if you're still someone they can lean on without fully showing up. But they won't say what really matters. They won't say I miss you or I pushed you away because I was scared. The shift in you. But here's the irony. The moment they start feeling all this is exactly when you start to heal. When you finally stop chasing, something inside you shifts. You're not angry anymore. You're not waiting to be chosen. You're not trying to decode mixed signals or earn love through effort. You've reached a quiet clarity. Loving someone shouldn't feel like emotional survival mode. And once an anxious partner reaches that clarity, they rarely return to the same battlefield. Not because they don't care anymore, but because they finally care about themselves. You've learned that chasing someone who fears closeness only destroys your own self-worth. You've learned that love can't grow where your nervous system is always in fight or flight. And stepping away wasn't an act of punishment. It was an act of self-respect. You're not managing their emotions anymore. You're not proving your worth. You finally learned the lesson. You cannot do someone else's healing for them. There are still moments where you wonder if you made the right choice. Moments where you miss them, where you remember the good parts. But then you remember what it felt like to constantly reach out to someone who kept pulling away, to feel anxious every single day, wondering where you stood. And you remember why you walked away. The hidden hope. For the avoidant, this is where the grief truly hits. The regret, the longing, the realization that they pushed away the very thing they wanted. Love, closeness, someone who saw them and stayed. And it's not that they didn't care. It's that caring felt dangerous to a heart taught since childhood that vulnerability equals pain. Your silence becomes a mirror they've avoided their entire life. But hidden inside this pain is hope. For the avoidant who is truly ready to stop running, ready to feel, ready to grow. This moment can be the turning point of their entire emotional life. Healing is possible. It takes therapy, accountability, self-awareness, and the courage to sit with emotions they've numbed for years. But some avoidants do make that journey. They learn that independence isn't strength if it costs them every meaningful connection. That emotional intimacy isn't a trap. It's an opportunity to be fully known and still loved. That vulnerability isn't weakness. It's courage, your freedom. And for you, the one who finally stopped chasing, this is a beginning of freedom, a return to self-trust, a rebalancing of your nervous system, a reminder that real love isn't something you earn with effort or emotional sacrifice. Real love is mutual. Two people showing up, two people choosing each other, two people doing the work. So if you ever walked away from someone avoidant, know this, you didn't lose them. They lost someone who tried harder than anyone ever had. Someone who saw their walls and still reached out. Someone who loved them in ways they weren't ready to receive. Your silence wasn't punishment. It was self-respect. And sometimes that silence becomes the loudest wake-up call of all. Walking away isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the most courageous thing you can do. Choosing your own peace over someone else's potential. Every step away from what hurt you moves you closer to the life and love you deserve. The relationship may have ended, but your healing has just begun. And that healing will teach you what this relationship never could. That you are worthy of consistent love. That your needs matter. That you don't have to shrink yourself to make someone comfortable. One day, you'll look back on this painful chapter and realize it wasn't a waste. It was a lesson that brought you back to yourself.